Here's your rewritten script, unique introduction included, formatted as one continuous narration in paragraph form. For decades, the untouchable elite of the hypercar world operated by one unspoken rule: outsiders don't touch our machines. Factory doors stayed locked, spare parts stayed off the market, and independent mechanics were treated like trespassers rather than craftsmen. So when whispers began circulating that two of the most revered names in hypercar engineering had quietly aligned themselves with a self-taught YouTube mechanic working out of an ordinary garage, the internet didn't just take notice, it demanded answers. Was this a genuine shift in how the industry viewed independent restoration, or was something far bigger brewing beneath the surface? Something that could permanently alter the relationship between manufacturers and the people who dare to keep their creations alive. By the end of this story, you'll understand exactly why this alliance has left one legendary brand looking painfully out of touch. It starts with a car that has already cheated death once. Lewis Hamilton's one-of-a-kind Pagani Zonda, a machine built exclusively for the 7-time Formula One champion in 2014, carries his initials and a naturally aspirated V12 engine paired with a rare manual gearbox that makes it one of the most coveted Zondas on the planet. This car survived a Monaco crash in 2015 with Hamilton behind the wheel, only to end up mangled again in Croatia in 2023 under a different owner. Most assumed that second impact was the final chapter. Instead, Pagani's engineers spent painstaking months piecing it back together, panel by panel, until it looked factory fresh once more. But the real story wasn't just the rebuild itself. It was what the process revealed. As these irreplaceable machines age, keeping them alive may no longer be something manufacturers can, or want to, handle entirely on their own. A new reality is settling in. Some of the most valuable cars ever built might need trusted outside hands to survive. And that idea alone was enough to shake the foundation of how the industry thinks about ownership and repair. That shift becomes even clearer when you look at what happened to Mat Armstrong, the mechanic and content creator whose channel has turned wrecked supercars into a global spectacle. For a stretch of time, it seemed like every manufacturer he approached slammed the door in his face, and the harshest rejection came from Bugatti, who refused outright to supply the parts he needed. It looked like the beginning of total industry-wide silence. Then Koenigsegg did something nobody expected. Instead of ignoring him or issuing a cautious statement, the Swedish manufacturer sent him a package: branded clothing, a personal handwritten note, and an invitation to dig deeper into their engineering through detailed technical explainers usually reserved for customers who've spent millions on their cars. Matt had never owned, rebuilt, or even worked on a Koenigsegg, yet the company had clearly been watching, and what they saw wasn't a threat to their image, but a genuinely obsessive engineering mind who told honest stories instead of chasing easy clicks. Where Bugatti chose to guard its reputation behind closed doors, Koenigsegg bet on transparency, understanding that letting passionate outsiders document their machines could build a stronger, more human connection with the next generation of enthusiasts. That single gesture said more than any press release could. Some legacy brands were finally starting to see independent creators as allies instead of liabilities. To understand why these companies would even consider trusting an outsider like this, you have to understand who Mat Armstrong actually is. He isn't the kind of mechanic who looks at a totaled supercar and sees scrap metal. He sees a puzzle worth solving. With a following north of 6 million subscribers, he's built his reputation on tackling projects that seasoned professionals often refuse to touch. Shattered Porsche GT3 RS models, flood-ruined Aston Martins, mangled Lamborghinis, even a Ferrari he restored as a personal gift for his own father. What separates him from other mechanics isn't only his technical skill, though. It's his refusal to hide the messy parts. Every stripped bolt, every wrong turn, every late-night breakthrough gets filmed and shared, turning each restoration into something audiences experience alongside him rather than watch from a distance. That honesty is precisely why manufacturers who once insisted certain repairs could only happen inside their own walls started paying attention to a guy working in a regular garage. All of that groundwork led to the project that would define his career: a heavily wrecked Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport, a car worth roughly $6 million, with only 60 units ever produced. After a brutal crash, conventional wisdom said the car was finished, a total loss, destined for parts or destruction. Its owner, Alex Gonzalez, refused to accept that ending. He bought the wreck back from the insurance company and handed it to Matt instead of sending it to Bugatti's factory, betting that an independent specialist could bring it back. Bugatti did not take this quietly. CEO Mat Armstrong publicly raised alarms about hidden structural damage, invisible cracks in the carbon fiber chassis, and a transmission so complex that supposedly only 2 facilities worldwide were equipped to service it. In a car capable of hitting 250 miles per hour, he argued, even the smallest oversight could be catastrophic, and only Bugatti's own technicians had the tools and training to guarantee it was done right. The company went further than just words, refusing to sell replacement parts and effectively blocking the path forward. Lamborghini had pushed back on Mat before, and Porsche had slow-walked past projects, so it looked like the entire hypercar establishment was closing ranks against him. He didn't back down. Working largely with basic tools and sheer persistence inside his own modest garage, Mat took apart and rebuilt a transmission that experts insisted required specialized factory equipment, and slowly, against nearly universal doubt, the Chiron came back to life. It wasn't the first time a manufacturer had tried to box him in either. Lamborghini had once threatened to pull support from his Revuelto rebuild unless he agreed to keep certain footage out of his videos. Porsche hesitated to sell him performance parts for a car with an accident history, questioning whether it deserved the upgrade at all. Each time, the pattern repeated itself. Manufacturers resisted at first, watched his videos rack up millions of views, and only then tried to get involved, usually after the most compelling part of the story had already unfolded without them. Bugatti's resistance was simply louder and more public than the rest, framed around safety concerns rather than quiet gatekeeping. But the outcome was the same. The car that many assumed would never move again was running in Mat's garage, and no amount of official skepticism could argue with the finished result. Step back from the individual rebuilds and a much larger question comes into focus, one that touches every person who has ever spent a fortune on an exotic machine. If you truly own something, why can't you choose who repairs it? Manufacturers frame their restrictions around safety and preserving resale value, and there's some legitimacy to that argument. But it doesn't fully explain why something as ordinary as a body panel or a headlight can be nearly impossible for an owner to obtain through official channels. If a person understands the risk and wants to take it, should a manufacturer really have the final say? These are the questions Mat's audience keeps returning to with every new upload, and they're questions the industry can no longer dodge. His track record, turning cars that experts wrote off into fully functioning machines, has quietly dismantled the assumption that only factory-certified workshops are capable of this level of work. Some brands are clearly reading the room. Koenigsegg's willingness to embrace an outsider signals that openness might actually strengthen a brand's image rather than threaten it. Others are still betting that secrecy and control can hold up in an era where audiences increasingly reward honesty over polish. The industry is standing at a genuine turning point, and Mat's channel is proof that raw, unscripted craftsmanship can capture attention in ways slick marketing campaigns simply cannot. None of this comes from a place of disrespect toward these brands. If anything, his devotion to preserving these machines is obvious in every video he posts. He's not trying to embarrass anyone, he's trying to save cars that would otherwise be forgotten in a scrapyard. With another wrecked Bugatti reportedly already sitting in his garage awaiting its second life, the pressure now sits squarely with the manufacturers. Do they get on board and become part of these stories? Or do they keep resisting until their customers and their fans move on without them? Whatever comes next, Mat Armstrong has already rewritten the rules around who gets to bring these machines back to life, and the industry is only beginning to catch up. Let me know if you'd like a version with a different tone, or trimmed for a shorter runtime.